Hello, everybody. This is Joe from PrepAgent. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Can you guys hear me? Say, I could hear you if you could hear me. Right, I could hear you. I feel like my connection's really good, so I'm pretty pumped about that. There's a long time before my connection was not that great. Aloha. So I see a lot of people here from California. Some of you guys asked me where I am right now. I am anywhere and everywhere, like the Great Oz, for those of you guys who like Wizard of Oz references. Although he wasn't anywhere and everywhere. He was actually in a land called Oz. So I guess that doesn't really apply. I'll have to get a different movie reference for you guys. Marisol's Tucson, also known as Tucson, AZ. See a lot of people from all over the place. Excuse me. So myself, Adrian, and my dogs are ready to go. Gordo y Flaca. Okay. So today we're doing vocabulary. Who's ready for like a vocabulary speed round before I start? I'll just say some words. You guys just write the definition as fast as you can. Who's ready? We'll start with a quick speed round to see who's been studying. I'll say a word, I'll give 5 seconds, and then I'll say the next word. And we'll see how many we could get through before we do some on the board. Ready, set, go. Real property. Okay, so I said real property. Okay, next one. Personal property. Personal property. Write those definitions. So I said real property and then personal property. Okay, fixture. 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 Okay, ad valorem. Ad valorem. All right, so real property is things that run with the land. Personal property is things that go with the person. And a fixture is personal property that becomes real property. See who is on it there. Okay, ad valorem is Latin for according to value. Okay, lease pendants, lease pendants. Lease pendants, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's Latin for lawsuit pending, lawsuit pending. Lawsuit pending. All right, that was just a quick one to make sure we're all paying attention and our fingers are ready to go. Because we are all participating today, right, guys? Everybody's participating. No spectators allowed, only participants. And we tend to hear from people who've been studying a lot, but I want to hear from the people who are a little insecure, because maybe they don't know this information or they haven't been studying a lot, but don't worry. We want to hear from everybody. This has always been a very supportive group. We've been pleasantly surprised. I very rarely get a negative comment from somebody, if ever. So I want everybody to write in the chat that you agree with me, that we want to hear from the insecure people as well. We want to hear from the people who are scared. We want to hear from the people who maybe don't know everything. So we want everybody to feel good. This is the benefit of doing this online. You don't have to feel stupid. Where it's in a class and you say something stupid, everybody's looking at you like, oh my God, that's him. So dumb. We hate him. Nobody does that here. And if they do that, you would never know. So what's the big deal? So everybody should participate. Right, guys? Who remember those awful days in class where if you asked a dumb question, everybody would look at you and then you'd be like, ugh, I hate them. Right, guys? Adrian knows what I'm talking about, right, Adrian? Okay, moving right along. I know it was very rude to say that, but we all know what happened when those persons said stupid things. We'd all be polite because we're nice people. In our head, we're like, ugh, the worst. Slowing down the class. I want to get out of here. Okay, but on the internet, we have no issues with that. So with that being said, we are going to post some vocabulary on the board, and you guys are going to write down those answers to the best of your ability. Okay, and if you write down a wrong answer, we're all going to write stupid. No, we won't do that. I promise. Nobody will do that. If anybody does that, Adrian, you promise to ban them Agent, will you promise to ban anybody who writes that in the chat? Even if I do it, you could even ban me. All right, here we go. Involuntary lien. What do we got? Involuntary lien. Okay, what's an involuntary lien? Okay, involuntary lien means you owe money whether you like it or not. You got no choice in the matter. A lot of you guys are writing examples. Some of those examples may not be correct, so we want to clarify on that. So involuntary lien is when you owe money whether you like it or not. Now, it's examples of tax lien or judgment lien, but is there types of taxes, okay, that are specific liens? Are there types of taxes that are specific liens? What do you guys think? That's what I was thinking about. What kind of taxes are specific liens? Okay, an example of that would be property taxes. What type of taxes are general liens? What type of taxes are general liens? What do you guys think? I would go with a income tax. Income tax would be a general lien. Income tax would be a general lien. Okay, so it says examples of involuntary liens would be tax liens and judgment liens, etc. Give me another example of an involuntary lien other than the one that you see on the board. Who could do that? So something other than tax liens and judgment liens. Give me another example of an involuntary lien. Some of you guys wrote mortgage, but a mortgage would be a voluntary lien. That would be voluntary, not involuntary, because you choose to get a mortgage. Am I buffering? I heard somebody say buffering. A mechanics lien. Good job. All you guys wrote mechanics lien. Big high five. Nice job. All right, now we got general liens. That's right, child support, Danny, would also be an involuntary lien. Good job. Okay, general liens. What is general lien? I mentioned it about 2 minutes ago. Who could tell me what a general lien is? Am I still buffering? Okay, what's a general lien? That means if you don't pay it, they could take everything from you. It applies to all property. I would like you guys to give me an example of a general lien. Give me an example of a general lien. Kind of sounds like the General Lee from Dukes of Hazzard. So an example of a general lien would be income taxes, a judgment, good. Those are all great examples of a general lien. Okay, now we got a listing. By the way, if I didn't explain that correctly, a general lien means if you don't pay it, they could go after everything. Or a specific lien, they can only go after one thing, like when you don't pay property taxes or a mortgage. Like if you don't pay your mortgage, they foreclose and they take your property, but they can't take like your car. Okay, what's a listing? A listing is an employment contract. Good job, everybody. It's a contract to find a buyer, an employment contract. Good job, everybody. All right. Antitrust laws. What's that? So we're going to bang through a lot of vocabulary today. So what I love about doing vocabulary, it's kind of like Adrian and I's form of a general review of everything. Because usually every webinar we do different like chapters or different categories, I should say. And we do the vocabulary section. It's kind of like our way of trying to hit on things from different areas. I hope you guys like it. Try and mix it up for you guys. Okay, so we're talking about the Sherman Antitrust Act. What is that? So the Antitrust Laws, so the Sherman Act you guys are writing, but what does that mean? Okay, so what that means is they're trying to promote free market competition. Free market competition. They're trying to make everything as fair. What are some examples of violations of the Sherman Antitrust Act? So Santana wrote redlining. That would be an example of fair housing violations. Okay, so examples of Sherman Antitrust Act violations would be price fixing, group boycotting, sectoring off certain areas of a community for certain people, steering and race and all that kind of stuff. You guys are naming fair housing violations. Those are not Sherman Antitrust Act violations. Okay, you definitely want to know the difference. Okay, so everybody get that? Sherman Antitrust Act has nothing to do with racial discrimination. Has everybody got it? I see a lot of people making that mistake. The Sherman Antitrust Act has nothing to do with racial discrimination. Those type of violations fall under the Fair Housing Act, the Federal Fair Housing Act. Has everybody got that? It's a very important distinction. Okay, so the Sherman Antitrust Act has to do to make sure that everything's fair. For example, if Adrian gets his real estate that comes to a new community, can all the other agents be like, oh my God, Adrian just got his license. Nobody talk to him. I don't care if he brings the best buyer in the world. Everybody ignore him. We don't want new competition in the area. So whenever a new agent comes in, let's be like really mean to him. Let's be really horrible, like Mean Girls with Lindsay Lohan. Okay, can they ignore him like that because he's a new agent in the community? No. What I just explained to you in a very simplified manner is group boycotting. That's group boycotting. That's a major no-no. Okay, can everybody be like, hey, we all need to charge 6%. Nobody in our city should charge less than 6%. If anybody does that, we're totally going to go after them and be horrible to them. Ready, break, 6%. Can you guys do that in your community? What do you guys think? No, that is an example of price fixing. And agents do that all the time, and it's bad, and they're breaking the law. They could say 6% is standard, but at the end of the day, it's all negotiable. Okay? In fact, I don't even think you could say it's standard. I take that back. All right? What if a real estate broker says, all right, everybody in the office, 6%. 6%. If we're working in this Coldwell Banker or this Remax, whatever it may be, Keller Williams, take your pick, it's 6%. That's what it is. If you charge less than 6%, you're out. We don't want you around anymore. Can they do that? What do you guys think? Yes, because that is within their office. That is their office policy. Does everybody get that? Because they're within the company. Does everybody understand why? Because they are within their brokerage, and you could go work for another broker in your community who will be more competitive and let you have more freedom with what you do. Does everybody understand the difference there? So you can't tell everybody in the community who are separate businesses to all have an agreement on the price. But individual brokers could set whatever policy they want within their brokerage. Has everybody got that? Because they're all under the same brokerage, a managing broker in office. So your Keller Williams office, for example, or Remax, whatever it may be, could say, if you work with Keller Williams, that's how we do it. And if you don't want to charge 6%, you're welcome to go work for Coldwell Banker or Remax or one of those others. What I'm saying is illegal is if Coldwell Banker, Remax, Keller Williams all get together and say, everybody's 6%. Does everybody understand that difference? I hope you guys do. It's an important distinction. Okay, if you don't understand it, maybe Adrian could help out. All right, redlining. Redlining. Yeah, so it's not illegal for the brokerage to do that because you're able to go work for another brokerage if you don't like their company policy. I guess that's what I'm getting at. Thanks, Ashley. I like how you say you like how I broke it down. It makes me feel good. Okay, redlining. What's redlining? So Anam says redlining is denying a loan because of ethnicity. That's close, but not exactly correct. Okay, you're really close though. So redlining is denying loan to a certain community. Now, the reason they deny to that community is because that community has a makeup of a lot of people of a certain race, religion, ethnicity, etc., etc., etc. Does everybody get that? So you're super close in saying they deny people of a certain ethnicity, but the way it actually works, they don't say, oh, they're of this ethnicity, we're not going to make them the loan. What they do is they say, oh, they're from this community, and this community has a lot of people from that ethnicity, so we'll deny them the loan. Does everybody see the difference there? It's super close, but it is an important distinction. So they go by area. Literally the way it started was somebody took a marker, a red marker, a red pen, I should say, or a Sharpie, who knows what it was, I wasn't there. And they took a map and they drew a red line around that area on the map. Okay, moving right along. How many guys, when you study, hear my voice in your head? You've listened to this so much that when you start reading words, you hear my voice. Fiduciary duty. Yeah, I'm like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Fiduciary duty. Loyalty. Your interest goes behind your client's interest. Okay. Fiduciary duty has to do with loyalty. Is this just a real estate thing, or does it go beyond real estate? Are there other industries and professions that also have this oath of being a fiduciary? What do you guys think? Or is this just strictly a real estate thing? Basically, anybody who has a client has a fiduciary duty. So you guys do like examples of lawyers. Whenever you take the responsibility of representing somebody and you're representing them, you're working on your behalf, and you're in a more knowledgeable position, you take on this fiduciary duty. Does that make sense? Somebody wrote doctors. That's more the Hippocratic Oath, which just says you try and help people all the time. But doctors aren't trying to represent you in talking to another person. Lawyers are, right? Like music agents do that and real estate agents do that, but you get the idea. Does everybody get it? When you're representing somebody, and the reason you're representing them is because you're more knowledgeable, has more contacts, a little more well-versed in the industry, and you're trying to help them because they don't have the same knowledge or context or insight, you create this fiduciary relationship. And the reason why that's a legal thing, because obviously in that circumstance, you're in a position where you could take advantage of them. Does everybody got that? Because you're getting entrusted in good faith, because the whole reason you're hired is you're knowledgeable, and you could use that knowledge to do bad things. So the law has this thing called a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that you don't do that. Has everybody got that? So if the person was wrong, they could say they violated their fiduciary duty. Does that make sense for everybody? So Bill Davis says used car salesperson. The fiduciary duty does not apply with somebody who's selling a car. because you are not their client. You are their customer. Does everybody get that? So a car salesperson, this is an important distinction. So I want everybody to understand this. There's a client and there's a customer. You sell things to a customer. You represent a client. You owe the customer honesty and fairness. So that car salesman cannot lie to you or cheat you. They still have to be honest and fair. But they don't owe you a fiduciary duty. Does that make sense for everybody? So, for example, when you get a listing, when you're contracted to find a buyer, that seller you have the fiduciary duty with. Okay? They are your client. That buyer who comes in to buy the property, they are a customer. So you owe them honesty and fairness, but you don't owe them loyalty. Does everybody got that distinction? Super important distinction. And just in case anybody gets confused when you hear the word principal, principal and client is the same thing. I actually didn't know that for a while until Adrian did some research and he found that out, and that helped me out a lot. So I know I got that confused for a while. So principal and client, potato, potato, tomato, tomato, same thing. Isn't that an old play from like many years ago? I say potato, you say tomato, let's call it love. I feel like that was an old Broadway musical. Was it My Fair Lady? No, I can't remember. Okay, gross rent multiplier. What is the gross rent multiplier? Going once, going twice, going three times, gross rent multiplier. It is price divided by rent. Price divided by rent. Price divided by rent. Why do you have the gross rent multiplier? Well, if you're talking to people who want investment properties, right, guys? Oh, Adrian nailed it. Song, Louis Armstrong, and Ella Fitzgerald. Did not know that. Thank you, Adrian, for that random fact. So when you guys get income properties, you don't care if the property is $500,000 or $1 million. You don't care if it rents for $1,000 a month or $3,000 a month. You care about the relationship between the price and the rent. Does that make sense for everybody? Because if it's a $3 million property and only brings in $1,000 a month, not so great. But if it's a $300,000 property and brings in $10,000 a month, that'd be amazing. The gross rent multiplier calculates that relationship. Does everybody understand that? That's why you do that. To make a balance between comparing income properties, because you're not just looking at the price, you're not looking at the rent, you're looking at the relationship between the two. This has nothing to do with the loan whatsoever. This has to do with evaluating the value of the property. Nothing to do with how you pay for the property. Am I going backwards? Sorry, guys. Okay, trade fixture. What is a trade fixture? Trade fixture. And you guys impressed that Adrian knew that song was Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald? I was impressed. Trade fixture. Good stuff. Rebecca Wolfenbarger. I think I said that right. I hope I did. A trade fixture, we all should know, is a fixture that is used in the course of somebody's business. The common example we like to use is a dentist chair, but it could be many things, anything used for somebody's business. And a trade fixture is personal property because it goes with that person. Unlike a normal fixture, which would be considered real property because it goes with the real estate. It goes with the real estate. He loves old jazz. That's what I think when I think of old jazz. Some guys in New Orleans with trumpets going. Okay, here we go. Exclusive authorization and right to sell listing. Exclusive authorization and right to sell listing. Is it just me or the most famous jazz clubs in the U.S. like in New Orleans? Or am I wrong on that? Where's my music aficionados? If you want to see the best jazz in the whole country, where do you go? I think it's New Orleans. Okay, exclusive authorization right to sell listing means there's one broker. Okay, and they get paid no matter what, as opposed to an exclusive agency listing, where if the owner sells themselves, you get nothing. Important. This is the most common type of listing, just so you guys know. Unless otherwise mentioned, you're more or less going to be signing this type of listing. If you guys have ever listed a house before and you look at your listing contract, you may not notice, but it has exclusive authorization and right to sell on the top. Shane says Uno broker. That's one for you guys who don't know. Freehold estate. Adrian, can you do a quick Google of subagency for Yash? He asked what subagency. Adrian will get a nice definition for you, Yash. We'll post it in the chat for you. Okay, a freehold estate. What is a freehold estate? That is ownership as opposed to a less than freehold estate, which is leasing. Okay, basically has to do with indefinite period of time. There are different types of freehold estates like fee simple absolute, fee simple defeasible, and a life estate. But all of them fall in this category of freehold estate, which means it's for an unknown length of time. So theoretically, you could have it forever, Andre. Theoretically, but usually you sell it or something of that nature. Okay, riparian rights. What is riparian rights? Riparian rights have to do if you're living by a moving body of water as opposed to littoral rights, which means you're by a body of water standing still. An example of riparian rights would be a river, but it could also be a stream or a creek or things of that nature. Whenever I think of creeks, I always think of like Colorado. Do you guys think of that? Maybe like Wyoming or that area? Statute of frauds. What is that? Statute of frauds. Who could tell me what is the statute of frauds? Anybody? Anybody? Statute of frauds? Statute of frauds state that things must be in writing. If it is not in writing, what is the status of that contract? What do you guys think? If it is not in writing, what would be the status of that contract? If it is not in writing, what would be the status of that contract? The answer is unenforceable. Nice job, Jetwood Productions. Unenforceable. It would not be void. It would not be voidable. Remember, it would still have the 4 essentials. If it's not in writing, it still has agreement, consideration, capable parties, and lawful object. Right, guys? So therefore, it's not void because it's still going to have the 4 essentials. It would just be unenforceable. The reason that's an important distinction, because when something's void, lacks one of those 4 essentials, it's no contract at all. With statute frauds or statute of limitations, there could be a contract. It's just some can be enforced, some cannot. Whereas when you talk about lacking those 4 essentials, it's not going to be a contract in any way, circumstance, time, or anything. All right? Does everybody got that? Whereas some things could be a contract, but some things can be enforced and some things cannot. And those things very often, as per your exam, fall under this thing of statute of frauds or statute of limitations. So you could have a valid contract that's not enforceable because it needs to be in writing. A fixture, we went over this before. Who could tell me what is a fixture? A fixture. A fixture. So a fixture would be personal property that is now considered real property because the manner it was attached to the real estate. And you would use the acronym MARIA to tell, and MARIA stands for method, adaptability, relationship, intention, or agreement. Examples of fixtures that some of you guys are writing are sinks, chandeliers, blinds, pool coverings. These are all great examples of fixtures, and they are considered real property because they go with the real estate. How am I doing tonight, guys? I hope I'm doing good. Want to step up for all you guys. I had a double dose of coffee before we started. So because I want to see you guys do well, I'm probably not going to sleep well tonight. But you know, those are the sacrifices we make for the group. We all got to make sacrifices, right? Okay, voidable. Voidable. What does voidable mean? Voidable. Oh, Cindy says it's first webinar. Welcome, Cindy Sandoval. Hope you come to many more. Voidable. So voidable is a contract that has those 4 essential elements. If it doesn't have those 4 essential elements, it would be void. But for one reason or another, that contract can be rescinded by one of the parties. For example, if you say you're selling a blue house, but the house is really red, then that person buying the house has the option to rescind. But they have the option to go through. If they have no problem with the color because they plan on painting it yellow anyway, then that doesn't affect their ability to purchase the property. They could still go through with it, which is why it's voidable and not void. If it was void, they would not have the option to go through with it. Some of you guys are given the example of duress. Why is that not void? Well, it's because you want the option to go through with it. If you go to sign a contract and I'm like, sign it or else I'm going to beat you up. I'm going to hurt you if you don't sign it. I'm threatening you to sign it, right? You may say, hey, relax, Captain Crazy. I was going to sign it anyways. No reason to go all nutty on me, okay? You have the right to do that. You have the right to follow through with that contract. Me acting all crazy and threatening you shouldn't stop your ability to purchase the property, which is why it would be voidable and not void if you were under duress. If it was void, that would mean when I threatened you, you can't buy the property, and that wouldn't be right. So duress makes it voidable, not void. All right, everybody got that? A lot of this sounds complicated and tricky, but when you actually think about it in real life terms, it makes a lot of sense. Okay. Cindy Sandoval wants to repeat the definition. Sure, I could do that. So voidable, Cindy, means it has the 4 essentials of a valid contract, but for some reason, one of the parties has the option to rescind. Whereas a void contract lacks one of those 4 essential elements. That's the definition. And those essential elements are mutual consent, consideration, lawful object, and capable parties. I hope that helps, Cindy, with that definition there for you. All right, guys, that's it for today. I hope you had an amazing day. Tomorrow is going to be a public webinar, so there'll probably be a lot of people. And tomorrow we're doing agency. So I will see everybody then. It'll be at 9 o'clock California time, 12 o'clock East Coast time, and you guys do the math wherever you are in between. Have a great day, everybody. It's Joe from PrepAgent along with Adrian.